Hi, my name is Annie. Welcome to my channel if this is your first time here. If you're returning, welcome back. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make the classic granny square in single color. This is a wonderful beginner project. Even if you've never crocheted anything before in your life, you are going to be able to make these cute granny squares. So the first thing we need for our granny square is going to be first of all yarn, of course. I am using this rainbow cotton 8/8 yarn from Hobie. This is a number 3 lightweight yarn. It's also called a DK yarn. If you're very new to crochet, I would definitely pick either a DK or worsted weight yarn. But not anything thinner because the thin yarn is going to make it hard for you to see your stitches. Another thing you're going to need is a crochet hook, and your yarn packaging is going to tell you what size of a hook you need. So follow whatever guideline they have on the yarn that you picked. Other things we need, a yarn needle, and a pair of scissors. So we are going to start our granny square from the middle. So granny squares are worked in rounds, starting from the very middle and then adding more rounds around it. And the way we start is we're going to make a slip knot. I make a slip knot by wrapping the yarn around my finger like this. I take that loop off my finger and then I pull another little loop here through the initial loop and I pull it tight. That's my slip knot. And then I'm going to put it on my hook, just like this, and pull it tight. Not too tight. You want to be able to move this loop a little bit, otherwise it's hard to get your stitches through. And then we are going to start by chaining 4. I'm going to show you how to chain. So I'm going to bring my hook behind the yarn like this. It's called the yarn over. This is a yarn over. And I pull that yarn through my initial slip knot on the hook. That's my chain 1. Let's do another one. Yarn over. And I pull through. Yarn over and I pull through. Yarn over and I pull through. Now I have chained 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to join these chained stitches into a circle. And the way I do this, I'm going to insert my hook into this very first stitch here. Just like that. Then I'm going to grab this yarn. And I'm going to pull it through that loop. And I'm going to bring it through the loop on my hook. I know it doesn't look much like a circle yet, but we'll get there. Don't worry. And then I'm going to chain 3 more stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And now I'm going to be working double crochets around this circle. So the classic granny square consists mainly of double crochet stitches, which are all these stitches that you see on the granny square, and chain stitches in between them. And we are going to be working these double crochet stitches in these clusters of 3. So let's get started. So here I have chained 3 stitches, and these 3 stitches are actually going to count as my very first double crochet, even though this is not a true double crochet, but it's going to count as one for this granny square. And then I'm going to work my very first actual double crochet stitch. And the way I do a double crochet is I do another yarn over, and then I'm going to insert my hook inside this circle. And now be careful here, because you're going to see a little opening here. There's just like one loop of yarn here and an opening. We are not going to be using that opening. We're going to be using the opening under that, which might require you to pull your work apart a little bit, but once you can see these two loops here instead of one, that's where you're going to be inserting the hook. So we have a yarn over on the hook, and then we insert into this space. We grab that yarn and we pull it through. And now I have 3 loops on my hook. I will do another yarn over, and I pull through 2 of them, and I do another yarn over, and I pull through the other 2. And now this here is a double crochet stitch. And now, as you can see, I can already see that opening a lot better after that first stitch. So once you get the first stitch in, it's going to get a lot easier. Let's do another double crochet. Yarn over. We insert in the same space. Grab that yarn and bring it through. Again, I have 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over. I pull through 2. And yarn over. I pull through 2. Now I have a cluster of 3 double crochets here, because that very first chain 3 is going to count as a double crochet. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this corner here. So as you can see, we have 3 double crochets here. Then we have a corner before we make the other or the next 3 double crochets. So the way we make a corner here is again by chaining. I am going to chain 2 in this granny square. If you wanted to, you could also be chaining 3 in the corners. It's really up to you, but whatever number you pick here, make sure that you follow that throughout the granny square. So always chaining either 2 or 3 in the corners. So I have my 2 stitches there, and then I'm going to work my next cluster of 3 double crochets. Yarn over, I insert in the very same space as we did before. I grab the yarn and bring it through. 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. Then I'm going to make another one. Yarn over, insert the hook, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. I have two double crochets in this cluster, so I need 1 more. Yarn over, insert the hook, bring that yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So here is my second cluster, and now I need my next corner, so I'm just gonna go ahead, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So I chain 2 stitches there for my next corner. Then I'm going to make another cluster of double crochets. So yarn over, insert in the same space in the middle, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So this stitch is called double crochet in the US terms. It's a very, very basic crochet stitch that you're going to need for a lot of patterns. So the granny squares are really a great way to master that stitch. There's my third cluster. I'll make my next corner by chaining 2. And then I'll make my last cluster, yarn over, insert the hook, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And 2 more double crochets in this cluster. And then I'm only missing my last corner here. So I will chain 2 for the corner. And now I need to bring this round together. And I'm going to be joining here. I can show you. The way I used to do this, I would slip stitch. I'm going to show you how to make a slip stitch shortly. But I would basically join this round to this first stitch here on the outside. And I would chain 1 less stitch here for this initial double crochet. Technically, I think the correct way to do this is I will actually go into this stitch here. So remember how we chained 3 stitches here for the first double crochet. Well, now I would go to this one here. That's still part of that chain. And insert my hook into both of these loops here. This is a little bit tricky to get your hook in there. Personally, I don't think it makes much of a difference if you wanted to insert into this stitch here because it's kind of going to disappear inside the granny square. But I'm just going to show you how to do that. So I usually insert the hook through one loop and then the next loop. And then I'll just bring this yarn through here. It's a little bit tight. And then I bring it through the loop on my hook. And now I have joined that round. And next I'm going to work my way to this corner. Some people will just start the next round wherever they left off the first one. So I could actually start here. As you can see, this is my corner here. So I would make a double crochet here, and then I would leave that double crochet, or in this case it would be the chain 3. I would leave it there by itself, and then I would move into the next corner and I would work around, and once I get to this last corner, I would work the rest of the stitches for that corner. But for this one, I'm just gonna go ahead and work my way to this next corner so I can start by making a full corner here. So the way I do that, I'm going to slip stitch my way there. So I'm gonna go to this next stitch of my work, grab that yarn, pull it through, and pull it through the loop on my hook. And I'm going to the next one, pull that yarn through, and pull it through. And then I'm going to go to this space here in the corner, pull that yarn through, and pull it through the loop on my hook. And now I'm in the corner. And I am going to do the same thing as I did on the first round, and I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And this is going to count as my first double crochet for this corner. And now we're going to be working corners a little bit differently than the previous round. Remember the previous round we just made the chain of 2 here. Well, here I'm actually going to be making 2 clusters of 3 double crochets in the same corner with that chain 2 in between them. So now I chained here 3, which is going to count as my first double crochet. And I'm going to make my next double crochet. Yarn over, insert the hook, pull the yarn through, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. There is my first actual double crochet, and I'm going to make another one. Yarn over, insert the hook, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So now I have my first cluster of double crochets, since that initial chain 3 counts as a double crochet. And next I'm going to chain 2 for the corner. 1 and 2. And if you were chaining 3 in the previous round, make sure that you're also chaining 3 on this round. But since I chained 2, that's what I'm going to stick with. And then I'm going to work the next 3 double crochets into this very same space. So yarn over, insert the hook, pull that yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert the hook, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert the hook, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And now what we can see here is we have a cluster of 3 double crochets. The first one is the initial chain 3. This is the corner where we chain 2, and then I have another cluster of 3 double crochets here. And now I'm going to move to my next corner here. Here you have an option. Some people like to chain 1 here. Whenever you have this cluster of 3 double crochets on the previous round, you could chain 1 here in this I mean kind of on top of it. So here I would chain 1, and then I would move on to my next corner. For this one I'm not going to make those chain 1s. If you want to, you can, but again, if you decide to chain 1 in between these clusters of 3 double crochets, make sure that you stick to that for your entire granny square. But I'm not going to do that, so I'm just going to go ahead and go straight into this next corner here with 3 double crochets. So yarn over, insert the hook, pull that yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert the hook, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert the hook, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So now I have 3 double crochets here, and I'm going to chain 2 for the corner, and then I'm going to go and work 3 more double crochets into this very same space. So yarn over, insert the hook, pull that yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert the hook, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. One more. Yarn over, insert the hook, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And now, as you can see, I have my next corner here. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. And now I'm just gonna go ahead, go this very next space, do the exact same thing as I did here. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. If you previously chained 1 here, make sure that you chain 1 also here. So on all these sides in the same spot, you will chain that 1 if you decided to do that. So go ahead and work around this round, and I'm going to meet you right here. If you need to see again how to make this corner here, feel free to rewind and go back here, because we do it the exact same thing we did here. So here we are. I have worked around my granny square, the second round, and I am back at the point where I'm going to join this round. So I have finished here my 3 double crochets. And again, if you are chaining 1 in these spaces here where you have the 3 double crochets in the previous round, go ahead and chain 1, and then we're going to slip stitch again here. And I am going to slip stitch right here into this stitch. So if you look on the outside, it's kind of here, the stitch that turns. And as I said, this can be a little tricky to get you a hook in here. So it might help to go first 1 loop. Now I lost the other loop. Okay, 1 loop. And then the other loop of that same stitch. And then I will just pull that yarn through this stitch. And then I pull it through this other one. And here is my second round all joined. And I'm going to do the same exact thing I did before. And I'm going to slip stitch my way to this corner here. So I'll go to the next stitch on the outside, bring that yarn through, and bring it through the loop on your hook. And the next one. And then I'm going into this space here. And I make a slip stitch there too, so I am in this corner. And now I'm going to be doing the exact same thing I did on the previous round. So I'm going to work 3 double crochets here, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. The initial double crochet is this chain 3, because we need to get to this right height. And as we do that, we're going to make this chain to count as a double crochet. So then I'm going to yarn over, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert the hook, pull that yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. I have 3 double crochets, including that first initial chain, and I'm going to chain 2, and then work the next 3 double crochets into the same corner space. Here we are. There is my corner, exactly the same way as before. And now, as we keep adding rounds, as you can see, our granny square keeps growing. And now on the side, instead of just having one cluster of 3 double crochets, we have 2 clusters. And in this space here, in between these 2 clusters, we are going to go ahead and work 3 double crochets. So exactly the same thing we do in the corners. Oops, I lost my yarn there. But instead of those 2 clusters, we'll just make 1 cluster of 3 double crochets. There it is. There is my side. And now next I'm getting into my corner, and I'm going to do the same exact thing we've done before. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. I get to my next side, and I'm going to make 3 double crochets into the space between those 2 clusters of double crochets. And that's how we work around our granny square. So I'm going to leave you complete this round again. If you need to see again how to make the corner, you can see how we did it on the previous round. And then in these spaces on the sides, you'll just make 3 double crochets into that same space, exactly the same way we did here. So here are my 3 rounds of granny square. 1, 2, and 3 rounds. And for my square today, I am adding 1 more round around that square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the exact same thing I did on the previous round. So I'll slip stitch my way to this corner here, work my corner, then work my side. As you can see here, now we have 2 spaces here between those clusters of double crochets. So I'll just work a cluster of 3 double crochets into each one of those. And that's kind of how I keep going. So I'm just gonna let you finish your square. If you need to see how to make that round, you can go back and see how we did this previous round, because it's exactly the same thing, with the difference that now we have 2 spaces here on the sides. So here we are. I have just joined my very last round for this square, and I'm going to go ahead and chain 1 here. So yarn over and pull it through, and then I can cut my yarn. You want to leave a little bit of a yarn end here, or this tail, just a couple of inches, so that you can securely weave it in and your granny square doesn't start to unravel. So here is my square, and now if I turn it around, I will see here my yarn ends. And personally, I always like to weave in my ends into 2 different directions. I feel that it's more secure. Some people do just weave in into 1 direction. Some people even do 3 different directions. But I just do 2. I feel like that's secure enough for me. So this initial yarn end here, I was actually holding this yarn end together with the ring when I worked this first round of the granny square. If you are not doing that, no worries. You can just take that yarn end and weave it into 2 different directions here. But since I've already done one direction, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and weave it into the opposite direction. So since the yarn end comes from there, this is too short to put on my yarn needle. So I'm just going to go ahead and get the needle through first. So I usually pick a stitch here where I kind of anchor that yarn, and then I go back the same way where the yarn end is coming from, since I already weaved it in one way. If you were not, I forgot to mention that when we did that initial round. So if you haven't weaved it in at all, it's not a big deal. You still just go ahead and weave in that yarn end one way, and then you weave it into a different direction. It's not rocket science, really. Just make sure that the yarn so that disappears inside your work. You may want to make sure also when you're inserting the yarn needle into your work that the needle doesn't show here on the other side, because if your needle shows here, so will this yarn end that you're trying to weave in. So you want to get it inside your work. Here we go. And there's just a tiny bit left. I can just go ahead and cut that with my scissors. And then I have this other one here. This I have not weaved in at all because it's the last yarn end that I just cut. So I'm just going to go ahead and weave this into 2 different directions to make it nice and secure. So I usually like to work my way to this first round here and just weave the yarn in here. You don't have to do the same thing. You can do your own way. And here I like to pull my work to make sure that this yarn end that I'm trying to weave in here is not like bunching up the whole granny square. So one way, I went one way there, then I just sort of anchor it somewhere here, and then I go back the same way. And there it goes. That end just sort of disappeared in there. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. And here is my granny square. Please let me know in the comment section how you like the tutorial and what color you ended up picking for your granny square. I'll see you next time.